Hi, I'm Brant at Crocker Farm, and I want to talk about some pretty early examples of American stoneware that we're going to be selling as part of our November 2nd, 2013 Stoneware and Redware auction. These pieces were made by a potter named Abraham Mead. He's pretty well known to American stoneware collectors, especially ones who are particularly interested in the earlier stuff. So just to sort of orient you to the story of American stoneware, and by extension these pots, American stoneware doesn't really get started until 1720. And these pieces were both made right around 1790. The potter we're talking about, Abraham Mead, was born in 1742. He, as a young man, apprenticed with a Dutch potter who had come to Greenwich, Connecticut by way of Manhattan. And his name was Adam Stats, or Stotts. He would eventually anglicize that name to Adam States. He dies in 1769, and probably sometime around then, Mead takes over the pottery in Greenwich. Mead was actually a Revolutionary War soldier, so he went off and fought and came back to Greenwich and resumed potting there at that time. What's interesting is he seems to have potted for a long time, but the only pieces we can really attribute to him, at least I should say most of the pieces we can attribute to him, were pieces that descended in his family and bear dates either 1790 or 1791. So the question is, how much stoneware is there out there from him aside from those dates? He didn't die until 1827, but I believe it's family history, which you can take for what it's worth, that he didn't pot beyond 1791. These pieces are not dated, but they seem to date from right around that early 1790s period. This piece bears the watch spring sort of design that he adapted from other pieces. I'm going to show you those in a second because it was a predominant early American stoneware design. This is just a really cool, almost psychedelic design in bright cobalt blue on a very light gray background, which tends to be what people really like to see. I'm sure consumers during the day like to see that as well, but we as collectors really value it today. It also bears a 2 under each handle. It has these open early loop handles and other watch spring sort of swirls beneath each handle. It also has this design on the other side. This piece is a mortar. Both of these pieces descended in the family together, I believe, in the Mead family. It bears the exact same tooling, using the exact same tool clearly as this pot. Mortars in American stoneware are very rare, but to have one made around 1790 by a potter like this, I think is quite remarkable. Both of these pieces are pretty heavy, which tells me that Mead was not particularly deft at making thin wall pots. Now, I told you about that watch spring design. These are 2 pieces that we're going to also be selling in that November 2nd auction, and they bear versions of this same sort of design. We attribute these to the Morgan Pottery of Cheesequake, New Jersey, from maybe, I would say probably before this piece was made, maybe right around the time the piece was made. They also could be from Manhattan. It's come to light that this design was also used prolifically at the dominant shops in lower Manhattan around the time period, but because they've always been attributed to New Jersey, and we just have more pieces that we think are New Jersey or say are New Jersey, it's hard to ferret out which ones are actually Manhattan. But anyway, you see this early design appearing here in a different form, but you can see the influence there. But we're just very happy to be able to offer all of this early stoneware and other pieces as well in our November 2nd, 2013 stoneware auction.